Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday Witchy live stream. We do this every Friday, and I am feeling excited. Not nervous, excited. Also, I super love this community. You guys are so awesome in the chat. I just love watching what you guys are talking about. It seems like everybody's making a lot of progress, and I just want to say thank you so much, Elena, for the super chat already. We've already started off with the super chat. Okay, so today we are doing a lovely little live stream about messages from your guides. So really anything is on the table, anything that your guides want to bring up, talk about, maybe anything that's been kind of on your mind. So we're just going to open up and just see whatever comes through here today. So with that being said, I've got 3 piles here. Pile number 1, the comic. Pile number 2, the mask. Pile number 3, the animal. This sounds like we're going to a children's birthday party, doesn't it? Pile number 3 is the animal. Okay, so I'm going to hold all these up. Pile number 1 is on this side. Pile number 2 in the middle. Pile number 3. So, everything's backwards. Okay, that's the best I can do. So, just take a deep breath. Allow your energy to relax. Do your thing. Be drawn in to whatever pile or piles you're feeling most called to. And that was really bothering me, sorry. And keep in mind that sometimes the way in which you get drawn into your pile, ridiculously and cumbersomely, given how I've just handled those cards, might say something about your message. It might kind of hone it in, because really, in my opinion, everything that goes on here in this space when we're tapped in is fair game. It might be kind of whatever is highlighted to you, whatever is standing out. I feel like we read these cards together. Of course, only take what resonates. And let's go ahead and do this. I don't know why I'm being such a weirdo. Okay. Pile number 1. Actually, I'm going to start shuffling some cards. Pile number 1. Okay. I'm wondering if there's a secret with the High Priestess here. Okay. Oh man, your guides are already coming through here. Very strong. This is you're learning some kind of lesson here, okay? And you might not know where this is going. You might not understand. There's definitely something happening though. So, and I do feel like there's an emotion. There's an emotion here, but maybe you're masking a certain emotion, and you feel like you can't cross a certain threshold, and that might be I don't know, towards something. It's this weird. It's not entirely stagnation. It feels like there's a barrier, but the barrier isn't solid, to something here that you're trying to go towards, or that you want to, I just heard make amends, or, and it's making you feel some kind of way, but you can't move towards it. But whatever the barrier is, it's not like somebody has shut the door in your face and dead bolted it or anything like that, but there still is some kind of buffer or some kind of barrier, maybe to a reunion, an apology. Yeah, something, making something right here. Now, either this is you or somebody is feeling this way towards you, and your guides are really wanting to make you aware of this, that potentially they're holding this person out because there's a lesson that's being learned here. And the lesson that's being learned here can only be learned from afar, is what I'm getting. And then I just heard Jafar from Aladdin, but I'm going to put that to the side here for a second. But okay, so whatever this lesson is that's being learned here can only be learned from afar. This is about not getting swept up in the emotionality of something, not being swept up in the drama, although that might have happened here in the past. That might have happened on one side or the other, and that's what caused a rift here in this situation, is just being so swept up in a moment. I just heard chaotic, and I'm just seeing somebody in the middle of a whirlpool, just kind of getting batted around or something. I don't know. I think this is teaching restraint, something here. This is teaching something about thinking something through to the long term, understanding who you are, understanding what you want, understanding some kind of progression line, into the future. And somebody here, again, whether this is you or whether this is somebody trying, fixated on you or wanting to make something right with you, there's something, I'm hearing that there's an Eminem song, and it's it's like we sing for these kids who don't have a thing except for a dream and a couple rap magazines. But there's a part of it where it's like, we went from having nothing to being able to have any thing that we wanted. So somebody here could have like maybe been born into, I don't want to say like a hopeless situation, but it's like maybe they thought that like either this is you or this is, again, this like person who messed up with you and did something. It's like because they never thought that something was possible for them. So they just got used to like sing for the moment. Is that the Eminem song that I'm quoting? Living in the moment. Like, oh, well, I might as well just get like what I can for today because, you know, tomorrow's not guaranteed, or like the world doesn't care about people like me. People like me always like fall through the cracks. So it's like somebody didn't take care, whether this is you or somebody else, like they didn't take care to make sure that they weren't ruining things and that they were setting themselves up for like a good future, and that, they weren't doing that because they just didn't like think that it was possible. Well, there's something here to do with that, but whatever lesson is going on here, I do think that it has to do with like a partnership. I'm noticing the 2 up there, and I'm seeing kind of the Gemini symbol actually, even though Gemini is the 3rd sign of the zodiac. So, okay, Taurus. Okay, I could have to do with like abundance or something here like that. But whatever lesson is going on here, it can only be learned from afar. And they're telling you, and again, I just heard Jafar. I just have to put that to the side. For a second. But I'm just getting like, and again, I don't know if this is you or somebody else, but it's like the answer is not to like brood. The answer is not to like just get drunk or like dark or moody about it. They're wanting you to like actually engage with this, because this card, like the comic, it's like comedians are like the philosophers of our time. There's some kind of philosophy. They're wanting you to kind of like think about this, but the only way you can think about it is like to stay distant from it and not to get swept up in it. And, that there's a potentiality here, like from learning this lesson about how to use this kind of like comedic, magician capable. It's like a magician capable kind of energy. Oh, Jafar, dark magician. So somebody could have been trying to manipulate, or there could have been a manipulator, because I'm seeing that part in Aladdin where Aladdin runs up and he's like, he takes the staff, the snake thing, and he busts it, and he's like, Your Majesty, they've been controlling you with this. So like there's something here about what's been controlling you, like what's been controlling your behaviors. And I'm just hearing limbic brain. This to me, okay, oh my gosh, okay, this is crazy. I'm like piecing certain things together, because when I'm saying the name Jafar, I'm seeing like a wall with the Eye of Egypt on it. It's not the Eye of the Pharaohs, but it's the one that we all think of. What is it? The Eye of Horus. Thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing that, the Eye of Horus. And you know, like the Eye of Horus is like, it's the brain. It's when you slice the brain, you know, and it's like the pineal gland and all of that. So it's something here is getting this up and working, the pineal gland, not working from the limbic system, that like emotional reptilian, like, you know, I just respond to my environment kind of a thing, and actually turning on a higher order of the brain and being able to see from the lens of the brain what is controlling your behavior, or not to let mind altering substances. That's another thing, like not to let certain things control your brain. So anyway, somebody here is learning a lesson, again, whether it's you. I'm kind of getting that somebody like wants to come in and make something right, but they feel like somebody is not going to truck with them anymore, basically. They feel like they're not going to make the same mistake. They know their worth. They're not going to whatever. So maybe for some of you, that's your lesson as well, is like not to accept less than your worth, not to accept somebody treating you badly for whatever reason. Also, I feel like I'm supposed to make a delineation here between, like there's a difference between excuses and like actually understanding the why behind something happened. And a lot of times they can sound very similar, and the difference is what you do with it. Like if something's an excuse, then it's like, well, here's why you should just excuse my behavior and like we should just get on with it. I'm not going to focus on like changing my behavior because I view that as a one-off incident. And then I'm just not going to do that anymore because now I'm going to choose not to do that anymore. You have to get to the root of why you did something. And that's why somebody is being held off here. And there's a certain like alchemical process within the brain, or like understanding the brain or the psyche. And they're not supposed to just dust it off of like, that was just me being stupid or like that. No, you need to get to the root of why you did what you did. Or why they did this to you, or like, yeah, to heal the situation. And, there's some kind of anxiety about a distance here. And I think potentially somebody here is watching something, but that's a part of like the magic or like the alchemy, is seeing things. You have to, I just keep coming back to this. You have to see things from a distance to be able to see them clearly. And you have to be able to try on different hats and like see things from different people's point of view in order to really truly see the situation clearly and like from the fullest Yeah, there was a mistake made here. Like I really feel like somebody wanted to come towards somebody like with this Page of Cups energy, and that even might have been with an apology. And like fumbled it, or they wanted to just like, this is like a meet cute energy. It's just like kind of flirty energy, like if this is romantic or just like an introduction or something like that. But then somebody got greedy with their options, and that put somebody at a distance here. It caused this Two of Swords energy. It caused a blockage, but it also potentially caused like a competitor to like kind of like come in and like block the situation here. And then it's like caused a bunch of anxiety. But I'm hearing you have to see things like from a distance here, and you can't see it through the lens of like emotionality. Okay, what else do your guides want to tell you? Okay, I'm really being drawn into this dark pillar here, and I'm pretty sure the B on this, okay, it also says BJ, so just take that. That could have occurred, and that could have put a distance between people. But I think this stands for Boaz. It's like Boaz and Joachim, and I know that this is, I'm not like the best person about this, but I know it kind of ties in with the Kabbalah, so that might mean something here to somebody. B could be significant. Okay, so teamwork makes the dream work is what I just heard. And also this is like work energy, building energy. Somebody cut something off because there was like a betrayal. There was something here that was like a betrayal. Somebody cut something off. Okay, also I'm hearing, okay, so there could be a difference here. Okay, so it could be the feminine that I'm getting. Like there's some kind of mystery here. Something with B. I don't get it. Okay, so, but anyways, I'm getting that somebody here may have been swept up in an emotionality, and then there was somebody on the opposite extreme that actually made whatever decision they made from a distance, because they were able to see like from a distance, like they were not emotional about the decision that they made. So if this is you and like you were caught up in some kind of moment, or you were caught up in some kind of emotional flare, you did something that put somebody that you actually really liked or really cared about at a distance, you have to understand that the other person, it's kind of like that opposites attract energy. And that's something that I think both of you have to teach each other, like where you're kind of teaching that person that it's actually okay to get like swept up in emotions to a certain degree, but they're teaching you that it's helpful to, you get better outcomes in life a lot of times, especially when you have goals, and if you define what you won't do is what I'm hearing. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a difference like between you and some person here. And I don't know which side of it you're on. Okay. But somebody here knows their absolute no's. They know their absolute boundaries. Like if somebody does this to me, and this is also like what I absolutely will not do like to another person. Somebody here knows like the lines that they will absolutely never cross. So when it's like not going to the grocery store hungry, so it's like when they're in that situation, they're not swept up in the emotionality because they're like, I promised myself when I was like thinking about my future and of a sound state of mind that I was never, ever, 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 never going to do this, going to do that, going to the other thing. So when you're in that moment, you got to make that split decision. It's already made for the person who is like already kind of has their like 10-year plan or whatever. And it might sound like a square kind of a thing to you. But there's like a time and a place. And I really feel like it's a time and a place for like that emotionality, and to allow yourself, you kind of set the container, right? To allow yourself to be swept up in that emotion when it's safe, when it's comfortable, when it's not going to F you 10 ways to Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's some kind of lesson here about that. You need a change of perspective. Again, this is you, or this is so I think something happened here and you both don't have the truth about each other, and you can only get the truth about each other through time, distance, and reflection, and like kind of being apart from this. There's something about not having the truth and like needing a different perspective in order to get a victory here. And in order to like finally be able to come together and like work together on something. Work together. That's the teamwork card. Work together. Yeah. Looking at this player energy very clearly, somebody either did this and they were like, well, you can't build on that, like maybe that was you. Maybe you're dealing with a player here. And I don't think that would be a surprise to you that if somebody's in that kind of very impulsive player energy, that tends to cluster with like an immaturity or somebody who's not thinking long term or doesn't. It's like the opposite of the marshmallow test. We talked about that before. Like the marshmallow test is when you put a marshmallow in front of a kid and you say, okay, if you don't eat that marshmallow, I'm going to come back in 10 minutes and then I'm going to give you another marshmallow. Those are the kinds of people that studies have shown, like if you have the ability to do that, it's basically self-discipline, right? And self-restriction. If you have the ability to do that, it gets you better outcomes in all areas of your life. So I think there's somebody here that's really learning this lesson, like that it doesn't pay to be impulsive. Like, there's a time and a place, especially when you're an adult, Yeah, and they kind of need to see that this impulsive in and out. I didn't have a full plan. There's somebody here who's like suffering because they didn't have a full plan, or they were just kind of like, I don't know, whatever happens. But like they really shouldn't have been that way in a certain. And this may have to do with the job. Like for a lot of you, I think this is a romantic situation, but for a lot of you, this may have to do with a job. Got my rose quartz. Okay. Anything else? What else do your guides want to say? There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of secrets. And okay, Knight of Wands keeps coming out here. Left out in the cold. King of Pentacles. With something that could have been long. I think something here could have been long term and it was lost because of an immaturity. And you should have said no. You should have gone home. Should have thought twice before you let it all go. Should have known that what you did with her'd get back to me. And I should have been there in the back of your mind. Shouldn't be asking myself why. You shouldn't be begging for forgiveness at my feet. You should have said no, baby, and you might still have me. Should have said no. Yeah, this is all about like, you should have said no. Honestly, it's lack mentality too, because I don't know, it's just like, oh my God, you're interested in me? Let's go tonight. Instead of like, I don't know, it's like, there's kind of like a not attractive energy to that too, of like, calm down. Like, there's food at the table. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's like a lack thing. Okay, so yeah, your guides are not wanting you to put a brave face on it. Somebody here's like really not in a good, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and boy is this one. Like, it's like, I'm trying so hard to be happy, but like, I'm really sad. So I think there's like a masking that's going on here too. Okay. You might need to ask for help. That's another thing too. Help. I really need somebody. Help. Not just anybody. Fair. Help. I don't know what's fair. Okay. Hinder. Yeah. Maybe that's like one of the lenses that they're wanting you to look at this situation through. Okay, because if somebody cheated on you or something, like you might have actually known that this person cares a lot about you and maybe they're just a mess. But it's not for you to help somebody in that situation, especially not at the expense of yourself, and especially not, maybe this is like the opposite side of the lesson. Like, you're not expected to help somebody, like, especially not at the expense of yourself, or when somebody actually has betrayed you or hurt you. Like, that person needs to sort themselves out with somebody that they have not disgraced, I just heard, or like hurt, spit on, caused pain to, and like cause like some kind of major hindrance to. That's disloyal. Yeah, somebody was disloyal. Speak. Blocked. Somebody's basically blocked, but this is teaching a certain lesson. And I just want to say, like, there's a lot of healing happening, but the healing's happening at a distance and the distance is either, it's all this time, the ways that we can get distance, time, space, just away from the emotionality of it, then things are going to start to kind of click in. Yeah. I just heard there's a major life decision. This is a major help. There's a major life decision. Seldom optimistic. Yeah. Okay. I think this is not like, again, they're trying to say like to zoom out and not to focus on like the outcomes. Cause I think the outcomes that you're wanting or something, it's like makes you seldom optimistic, but understand that there is a rhyme and a reason to this. Some of you might be actually very mad at your guides over this because your ego's not getting what it wants, or that's what's going on with this other person. The ego is, okay, ego is something important. The ego has landed. But like, yeah, it's like writhing around and it's like, well, I'm not getting what I want. So it's like throwing a fit like a toddler instead of like pulling back, looking at distance, like, and seeing what's actually going on here from the higher like perspective. Some of you are ready to make that jump is what I'm getting. And to not just live from like your personal perspective here. Okay, anything else that your guides want to say, even if it's like something different for pile number 1? There's definitely a lesson that's playing out here. Okay, the lesson also could be about like revealing on the outside what's real on the inside. Because that could have saved a situation too. Or like played a part in it. Oh my gosh. Okay, navigating. Okay. Okay. There's something about navigating forward, and then there's a tower moment. Again, like 2 locations, having your cake and eating it too, and then also like following somebody's D. This is not the head that you should be leading with. Yeah, there's like something here is foolish and it changed like a fortune. But what do you want to say about that? Temperance. The point of it, the goal of it is then to temper out after this. It didn't have to go this way. It didn't. We have free will here. We're allowed like our choices. But now that it has, this is about tempering out. Like there has been an ending here, a painful ending or whatever. It's about tempering out. Okay, there's also a lesson here about like, okay, the Seven of Cups, right? This is options and not seeing options clearly versus knowing what's the big kahuna. Like knowing what is Spirit's cup. When you have Spirit's cup, these don't matter because these ain't worth shit. These might look sparkly. They're going to lead you to shit when this is on the table. These aren't options. These are distractions. There's also Neptunian energy coming through here. So it's like making things seem better than it actually is. And that's where the emotionality is coming in here too. Making the options seem better than it is. Making your behavior seem better than it is. I'm hearing a song lyric. It's like, but it's harder to keep the head up and be effing strong. It's hard to keep pretending that there's nothing wrong, but it's harder to keep your head up and be effing strong. Like in the face of temptation or in the face of these other. So this is about, there's lessons going on here about just being strong, being self-determined, knowing who you are, knowing what it is that you want now and into the future. Having that path for yourself, believing in yourself, like choosing not to give up on yourself, that means knowing what your absolute no's are. Like under no circumstances am I going to buy that Kit Kat in the checkout line because I'm going to go home and I'm going to eat very shortly, right? Like knowing what your absolute no's are that way and then sticking by that. And it's not like over managing your life or anything, but you do have to know that you will not backslide over like a certain thing because you're headed onwards and upwards. You know what you want and you are going after that, right? I'm hearing the worst way to fail is to fail by like backsliding over that line that you should have never crossed. That's the worst way to fail. Like instead of failing like, oh, well, like I was really striving for it and I almost got there because it's hard to get there sometimes. Like sometimes we might not get there. You can control what you do not, absolutely do not do. And so I feel like there's some kind of lesson like going on here like about that and about what you're capable of. And it's just willpower and determination. And it's the same thing of like, I will not eat that Kit Kat at midnight. I will not like, or I'm not going to, have that, I don't know, like it's the same kind of willpower of like, no, I am going to get up at 7, just like I said. Like when my alarm goes off, I made a plan last night that I was going to wake up at 7 and then I planned out all the things that I wanted to get done before 10 and I am getting up at 7. It's like the same kind of willpower, but I don't know what arena this is in life. This feels like it's overall in terms of like goals. And also like not to set goals that for other people, for like our capitalist system, and then not to set goals for yourself. Like set goals for yourself, show up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Something here like that. So anything else? Anxiety. Okay, somebody here could have gotten like very boastful and very like strong and very like adamant in their energy because of anxiety, because they were afraid to look at something here. And so they poured out like the cup of like a new beginning and maybe went back to a past situation that was sexual and gross and not worth it when they should have been alone. And then that got them caught up in a karmic cycle. If they had like, yeah. And instead of just like doing the healing work, they wanted to numb out. They went back to something that was familiar, but shit, and they knew that it was shit. Somebody here did that. It was either you or somebody else that they were involved with. So if this was somebody that is trying to come back to you, part of they never got their distance. They never like were just calm and quiet and in hermit mode, because if they did that, they would have come back to you and they would have healed the situation and they would have said all the things that you needed them to say. They would have demonstrated all the things that you needed them to demonstrate. So if you're wondering why that didn't happen, it's because literally this person ran away. They ran off and they just distracted themselves with like bad behavior after bad behavior and with a toxic ex or like some kind of toxic cycle. Yeah, they kind of became the most important thing in their own world, and they disgraced or like turned their back on values and morals that they had. They just got mad at them or something, and then they just, in order to cast judgment, like this person went to a dark place, and this is about getting clarity on that and like healing. It was always about that. It was always about like choosing the clarity. even though it like kind of hurts. And instead, I think that they were defending some kind of immature stance when they were supposed to like boss up into the King of Pentacles, which is the King of Pentacles is somebody who believes in nobility and like works like very hard. It's just sometimes like they trust the wrong people. That could have like been what went on here too. It's like they trusted the wrong person, but I'm hearing they trusted the wrong part of their brain. It's that animalistic like limbic side of their brain. They trusted the wrong voice, and then it caused a painful ending. And now there's some kind of like maybe tower moment, but there's some kind of karmic cycle. It caused a judgment. It caused some kind of judgment call. And then there was like a message too that came through. I don't know. There's a message. This person basically postured when they should have like been introspective. I don't know if that's you or if that's somebody else. Okay, so what advice do your guides have? I mean, I think we have a lot of advice, but just to wrap this up, I just keep hearing that song. You should have said no. This is about learning. Maybe for some of you, this is just about learning how to say no. But I'm also hearing this is about saying no in all the ways. It's not like no. And it's like you're kind of leaving the door open. It's your facial expressions say no. Your tone of voice says no. Your words say no. It doesn't lilt up at the end like no. It's no. And like there's a difference between saying no and there's no. There's two different things. And maybe saying no is something that's like really difficult for you, or just like actually setting those boundaries and like really holding those boundaries, or it is for somebody else. Oh my gosh. Okay. Union at the bottom of the deck. Masculine, divinity, and fight on one side, and we've got this witchy card, sisterhood, and the gospel on the other side. So again, this is kind of like our energy here, like witchy sisterhood. Everybody's like processing, actually doing what this masculine probably should have done is, or if this was you, you're actually doing the work now because you're willing to hear feedback, even if it's hard. You're willing to actually like, okay, you're right. I need to look at this and I need to like actually do my part to like have this union that I want here. And to be able to hold something out like on a repeated basis. And this masculine, there's some kind of divine fight that he may have to go through that's going to teach him something. Curses. This is about taking responsibility for your actions. The kind of like what's behind this card is like you kind of can only curse yourself sort of thing. Like your bad thoughts or like your bad intentions. Like it's like we're basically like the ultimate message of this card, even though it's the curses card, is basically that you're the captain of your own ship. And ultimately like you control your own behavior, you allow certain things or you don't allow certain things. And that even though there's a lot that's out of our control in life, we can always like control our choices and certain things. So it's just about it's about taking responsibility for your own destiny. Like that's what this is. But to do that, you have to confront the shadow. Also, somebody here may have a shadow. Somebody who like is gross and creepy and weird and like literally follows them around. Yeah, it could be some kind of crazy psycho, like obsessed ex. Maybe both of you do. I don't know. Also, that's not a situation that you should make light of. It's not funny. It's actually dangerous either to you or like to this other person. Feminine resistance. It's not funny. If somebody is like just following you or like it's not funny and it's not something to be fallen back on. Maybe that's who this masculine went back to, is somebody who's like obsessed with him. Ew. Secret shadow. I'm wondering if there wasn't like a secret shadow. Okay, like his shadow is very much he keeps it under wraps, or this is you. He keeps it under wraps, but he does fuck shit like behind the scenes and doesn't want anybody to know. And I think part of that fuck shit is there is like a person that he just kind of keeps on the hook. He knows this person is like obsessed with him and that he can always go back, and it is toxic. And this person wants something from him. He's really risking a pregnancy. This man is not stupid. Don't let him play stupid. Like he knows what he's doing. Like he knows like sperm plus egg equals baby. Okay. At the very least he knows that. And if he doesn't, you got bigger problems on your hand. So, he runs from himself and he feels he shouldn't be held accountable for his decisions. And he's probably going to have to learn something the hard way here. And if that's the case, like he needs to realize, did no one hold this man accountable? This is starting to like actually piss me off. Okay. I don't know. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's something about his past that he has genuinely been victimized in something. Like he's genuinely had hardship and struggle, but then he expects that kind of treatment in all things like in his life, because there's one thing that he's been victimized in, but he's just applying it to everything else. I don't know. This man might have to learn some things the hard way, but that has nothing to do with you. You're being kept at a distance if that's the case, because you're not to internalize, especially if he's not made amends here. So, okay, this kind of is like taking a turn, and I'm just going to leave that there. That's pile number 1. There's a lot that's not funny, actually, about pile number 1 that we shouldn't be laughing about. And then there's other things. There's maybe a misuse of like humor, because humor is a resiliency. But there's like a laughing off of things that shouldn't be laughed off of, that should actually be sat with and taken very seriously, like a child or something. And then there's also a magic in that, because to use humor very well, to uplift, to point certain things out philosophically, but coming from a place of consciousness and coming from a place of personal responsibility, it can be a very powerful tool. And I think they're trying to get this up and running, like for one or both of you or something. This is a person, okay, I just heard, I'm just a writer from the ghetto like Mallory Black. And that's written in the stars. Oh, there's a destiny element to this. Also, William Shakespeare. Somebody here is like a performer or a writer or something. I'm just a writer from the ghetto like Mallory Black. But it's something that is like writing like a rap song or like writing a poetry, and it's like writing about whatever okay. There's some kind of like writing talent, I think, or there's some kind of like Shakespearean theatrical ability to take whatever this is that I'm getting goosebumps, like whatever this person has like been through and genuinely victimized in, whether it was like poverty or, I don't know, just like being overlooked is what it feels like for some kind of arbitrary, superficial reason. Taking that, transforming that, and almost being like a mouthpiece for that. Like, this is a person who can actually get people's attention in the right way and help to transform things, I think, for a large number of people. And they need that person to stop like being the victim. They need them to be like the crusader. That's the Knight of Wands energy. I think this person has a lot of energy, but they don't know where to direct it. And so they need to harness that. They need to harness that instead of just letting it run them. So this is a very inspiring person. I was kind of getting down on them. I think you might get frustrated with this person too, because you can see the potential in them, but you can't fall in love with potential, and potential's not going to put the food on the table, and potential is going to get somebody else pregnant and cheat on you and all the other horrible stuff. You have like, and so it's like, why won't you engage yourself? Like, why will you not be the person that you want to be? And you can't believe in somebody more than they believe in themselves. And for some of you, that's the hard lesson that you have to learn, is like walking away from somebody who just refuses to try for themselves. Like, not even for you, for anything, like just refuses to try for themselves. Even though like, and you can see like the potential in that person. Maybe that was like something that I think a lot of you were the reflection of like what this person could have been. And they, I think, saw that there was like a camaraderie there, but they compared themselves to you unfavorably. Like they were like, oh, that person's like way out of my league. Instead of like, that is kind of like what I could be, you know, or like what that person's doing. I think, or you were doing what they should have been doing because you came from a situation too. Maybe they didn't know that, because I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Totally a Greek thing. Okay. Like the video, dudes and duets. Yeah, you have to move away from this to change. Exactly. Oh, welcome. Okay. He worked in theater, as in plays like Shakespeare. I'm really getting that. Or this is like, you know, like the lines like, or the shows like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Improv, like comedy, improv. Like there's a real talent for that, like quick thinking on your feet. I'm gonna make something beautiful out of this. Somebody's gonna hand me a word or a phrase or a shit situation in life, and I'm gonna make something beautiful out of it. I'm gonna spin it on its head, but you have to be in your power to do that. And you have to see yourself as somebody who is a force to be reckoned with. Okay. And that's part of the lesson, but I feel like there's healing and there's distance, and there's also potentially like a mirroring, a seeing in the other person how to do it, you know, or like what can be done, kind of a thing. Okay. So he's a writer, rapper, not famous. Okay. So moving on. Okay. Marlon says, Jess has so much knowledge and I feel like it's kind of wasted on repeating the idea. Focusing on them will help us at all. Okay. I highly disagree with that, but I think I've said that like multiple times. I don't feel like I'm wasting my talent at all. And I think life is like a mirroring experience. And I really, I think this is also a thing, like I'm a Gemini. And this might tie into like one of the messages. But people often, oh my gosh, that's like actually a part of this card, like the comic. That's one of the things in the book about this card I'm just remembering is like a lot of times the comic is something that's looked down upon as something that is like unsophisticated or something that doesn't take a lot of talent to do. But actually a comic has to be able to, they have to do so many things at once. They have to be able to keep themselves at a distance. They have to be able to be a philosophizer. They have to kind of like think about a lot of things, but they oftentimes like talk about things that are so mundane. And I think that's one thing in the spiritual community we have to get away from is this idea that we have to be like pretentious or that life isn't about the mundane. Life is absolutely about the mundane. And if you think that it's not, and if you think about it something like beyond just relationships and mirroring and routine and brushing your teeth, and if you think about that the magic that we're talking about of like spiritual alchemy or anything like that is anything other than just being able to look very deeply at the profane and to make it profound or like to gain some kind of insight, I just highly disagree with that. I push back. I think the magic, at least for me, and I'm living proof of that, anything you admire in me, I guarantee you it's because I've just dealt with the mundane. I think life itself is a relationship. I think you have a relationship with the earth and with the world. And I think sometimes the best way to get to know yourself is to understand your reflection through other people, you know, and especially like those most intimate of relationships. I also believe that when you do your inner work, and I highly suggest that this be used in tandem, I have no place there and I wouldn't tread there, you know, and I try to like kind of point certain things out, but it's one of my least favorite comments truly is that what I do is lacking or it's girly or it's, and I kind of do think there's a bit of misogyny. I'm not like saying that you're misogynist, but I do kind of think that's lumped in there of like people who focus on kind of feminine things are silly or it's just not heavy hitting energy. I think I prove every day that I'm heavy hitting energy and I like the things that I like and I've learned my lessons the way that I've learned them. And that's what I share. And I'm not going to pretend to be anything different. And if that's not heavy hitting enough for you, or if you think I'm wasting my talents or like wasting myself, that is your opinion. But just know that it isn't mine. And it's not how I'm going to steer my ship. And maybe that ties into like this is like having that, like, you can think what you want about me. You can put down my energy all you want. You can degrade it and you can say that it's not this or it should be that. And that's your opinion. But like ultimately you're focused on my energy and like not your own too. Like you're kind of doing that to me in a way that you're not invited to do, by the way. So, okay. Sorry. Sometimes I just want to like, I hope that like, I just disagree with you. Like at the end of the day. Yeah, I think though, I agree, Marlon, like that sometimes you do have to like move away from that, but people dip in and out of this community as they need to. Like, I don't understand why you have to micromanage everybody else's experience. If you feel like your time is wasted here, that's a personal decision that you need to make for yourself, not for 193 other people who are here who might need to be here. Like, not everybody is exactly where you're at, but this is where the personal meets the collective. That's also part of the beauty that is here. And also, this is also very feminine. Like, women do sit around and we talk about our experiences and we process that. And that's a part of like our healing space and we hold space for one another. If that's not something that you benefit from, then you need to know that about yourself personally. But you also shouldn't expect that everybody else feels the same way or that there's only one way to view what's going on here or that there's only one way to experience it or there's only one outcome. Okay, like, I just feel like maybe this isn't, I wonder why about your hearts. I'm saying plenty about you. Okay, I'm feeling like attacked by this. Babe, can you like maybe just time out this person? As I just feel like this is really unhelpful and honestly like really rude. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And the last thing I want to do is be put on the defense. Like, we can disagree, but this is my space. Like, be here and participate in this or just leave. Like, that's all that there really is to it. It's not, you know, like we can be free to disagree. I feel like I have that perspective, but you having that perspective is if you disagree, like, I don't know why you need to come into a space where people are doing one thing and just tell us all that we're not doing that. Like, you're being very pretentious. Okay. I'm just gonna take a second here.
Yeah. Just because you're not doing it the way that somebody in particular wants you to do it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. I feel like, oh my gosh, maybe this is like, you're doing it wrong. Changing topics. Okay. It's funny too. I'm just going to say this before we get into pile number 2, because I used to be a person, like, I just get really self-conscious about standing up for myself, because I was taught like that women, like females, like, you're not supposed to stand up for yourself. Even if you have a problem with somebody, like, you're just supposed to be silent and you're just supposed to like move on. And I've always felt like bulldozed in my life, but also I do feel like a very eloquent person and somebody who understands like my own thought processes. And I just don't think that it makes me a bad person, or like, I don't think it makes me any kind of one way to just kind of, I don't know, just make some space for myself, like in this world, and to make some space for all of us. So, okay. My family surname is in the room. Me too. Vanya, I was thinking about you the other day. I was thinking about you on your trips, and I was thinking about what you said about how your life didn't always start off easy, but that it's ended up in a place for you right now where you could like travel around. And I was thinking about that while I was sitting on my porch, and I was manifesting that for myself. So, okay. Jess literally is the message. Okay. I love you guys. I really do. This is such a group of like good eggs. Okay. Moving on to pile number 2, The Mask. I don't know why I'm seeing Jim Carrey, The Mask. I haven't seen that movie in so long, and I honestly can't even remember what it's about. I just remember his like giant teeth. So maybe there's something here about that. But let me get some cards. Okay. I'm going to use my favorite deck here that sometimes YouTube has a problem with, but okay. Sometimes YouTube has a problem with. And then like everything that we were kind of just saying, okay, like the mask, just removing your mask. Okay. Let's just see here. Spirit, what do you want to say here about pile number 2? Highest vibrational good of all beings, Spirit. Okay, interesting. Okay. I just saw like the, I don't know what's actually called in this deck, but I saw like when I was shuffling the card that is like the swamp, and then I saw the cannibal. The cannibal is 7 of Swords energy, and it is like something that's sneaking around, but then that cannibalistic energy, it's like eating yourself, like eating yourself alive. And then like with this mask energy, it's kind of making me think of like, again, like me holding something in. Thank you so much for the super chat. Like holding something in, or like, yeah, but that swamp energy, because whenever I think about the swamp, I forever think about Brené Brown, who talks about like, you know, the vulnerability swamp. And the swamp is basically like the lowlands, and it's where we keep all of our like shame. And we have to go in there sometimes. Oh, okay, I get it. Like we have to go in there sometimes, but we're not supposed to like live there and build a house there. You put your galoshes on, you get prepared, you go in there, you do what you need to do, and then like you get out. So this is maybe something here about shadow work as to like, oh, going in there and like, you know, getting out. Like it's kind of like what we do here. Like we do this every like Friday morning, but then like we live kind of the rest of our weeks and stuff like that. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for your readings. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so there's this, this is interesting. So the Emperor and the Moon, first of all, these are major arcana cards and heavy hitting ones at that. And I feel like this is maybe even both sides of this mask. Okay, this is also like the Guru Father. And we've talked about this before, like a lot of times with narcissistic energies, but not even. Like this can just be like very rigid and like holding the status quo. There's a quote that I've heard. It's wherever you see the Guru Father, this is somebody who's like the Emperor. They can never be challenged. Like they're always a certain way. But with this Emperor card, I'm getting there's a certain order that you want to kind of like maintain. Behind that, there's always like the little child, like the wounded child. And that I feel like is this moon energy here. But this moon energy is like very tumultuous and very like emotional. So there's something here about like the way that things are and the way that you present in the world. I think that, you know, you were taught and you were socialized, and I'm using that word socialized because you get praise and you get like rewarded, and you get like, I don't want to say punished, but it's like you notice that you're treated a certain way when you do certain things, and that you're treated another way when you do other things. So you get this kind of like constant feedback loop of who it is that you're supposed to be. And that's legitimate. But sometimes we have to disappoint people is what I'm hearing. And sometimes like you have to make room for yourself. I literally think that was like a live demonstration kind of and sometimes that happens. And it's so funny because in my prayer, like before I was praying for this, I always pray for like everything that goes on in the chat and everything that goes on like within this space to be for the highest and greatest good of all beings and to be like relevant to the message. And I feel like that's exactly what's going on. It's like sometimes we kind of have to drop mask. We have to bring out another part of ourselves that maybe is not like you weren't taught. Like I wasn't taught that that was socially acceptable, but I've learned that like it's at the expense of myself if I don't do it. And so even though maybe some people won't find it socially acceptable, I know that for my own self and like my safety and like my respect, I have to bring that part of me forward, even though it might be uncomfortable for me or I might be worried about something. I feel like there's some version of that. Like it doesn't have to be exactly like what mine is or what was just demonstrated here. There's some version of that like here for you. And keeping it like bottled up and locked up inside, it's causing this like werewolf energy, this moon energy, maybe even like where everything, like sometimes you just kind of like lash out and it's truly not like your personality or something. It's just that you've been trying to keep a lid on it so much. Okay, I'm also hearing the term reactive abuse, which I know is a terrible term. I've been learning like a lot about that, but it's like where you just kind of finally get pushed over the edge where then you're the person who like acts out, even though somebody was kind of like slowly whittling away or chipping away. And with that Seven of Swords energy, there may well be an influence around you that is trying to kind of like slowly whittle away at your self-esteem or chip away at something and is trying to kind of maybe get you painted in a light that you aren't actually in. But like you're going to reach a very natural human breaking point if you don't just share your honest like feelings about that. And it's something that, especially if you do it in a way that is like considerate, but considerate of who? Considerate also of yourself. I think this is actually a group that is like way overly considerate of other people because when we hear that word considerate, we're taught that like to be considerate is to be considerate of others. But like you need to be considerate of like your own self, your home, your emotional needs with the moon card and how you go about getting your emotional needs. I'm wondering what's going on with your moon in your astrology chart. And that could be like your actual birth chart or it could be like in your progressed chart. Like, is there something going on with your moon? It might be highly significant in like your spiritual journey. I just got goosebumps again. Where maybe it's like attached to one of your nodes or something. Like, thank you so much for the super chat pedal. Oh, thank you. Yes. Okay. Like I think there might be something going on with your moon. It's like how you deal with your emotions and also how you structure your home life and how you relate to maybe a mother energy or mothering if you are a mother, how you relate to like that and how you relate to just like your cycles and everything like that's all teaching you something because I think you might be very uncomfortable with that, but it's not natural within you. It's because of how people, it's that socialization factor. It's how people responded to your emotions that made you weird about it. It displaced the energy. It kind of like, it taught you how to be like a certain way around your emotions. And for some of you, it's going to be like that you're very stoic, like when you're out. And for others of you, it's going to be that you're always like happy and bubbly because that's kind of its own version of like kind of keeping everything in place. But behind it, there's some kind of other emotion of feeling scared or vulnerable or seething mad or something. And it's okay for you to express that. So oh my gosh, remember I was hearing the eagle has landed and then we get the griffin. Okay, because, oh my gosh. Okay, I actually feel like there's somebody, I don't know if this is picking up on like the reading, but somebody here is just mad that they can't get to you, okay? Because we have this Empress energy. There's something here about like you just can't win. And somebody here is like upset that they just can't win with you. Or maybe this is like with me, somebody trying to like set me off. I don't know, like, and it's like, there's something here about justice and the Valkyrie is like that strong, like kind of warrior energy. Okay, I'm just hearing like, you just don't let them get to you. And if you own all the parts of yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin and you are like, no, listen, I'm a human. And that means that I experience the full gamut of emotions. And sometimes I have to express those emotions. But like, I know in the West, I don't know how true this holds up in the East, but like in the West, it's like, especially for women, it's like, if you express anger, then people try to automatically say that that means that you're like an angry, violent person. When in reality, every single one of us has been mad. All of us have been. And it's just like a normal part of humanity, but we should be expressing it, but like expressing it in a healthy way. So this is about you finding, like, I think it's just about you owning all parts of yourself and knowing how to express all parts of that yourself, like in a way that feels comfortable for you. You know, where you're like, no, I will be heard. I will be understood. I'll make space for you to agree or disagree, but I need to be like heard or seen or understood in the fullness of like whatever this is. And I'm not just going to hide the bad parts of myself. Okay, I also just heard, I can't remember what this is from, but it was like a teenage girl and she was telling her mom that she only wanted her to pack cute foods for her in her lunch. And her mom was like, what's a cute food? And so it's like, maybe you feel like, oh, well, I can only I can only eat certain foods like around the public, because otherwise people are going to judge me. I think at the heart of this is a fear of judgment. And it's being like kind of somebody is either trying that. I think you just are used to having judgment weaponized towards you. And again, I know this is very Western because it's like everything's on social media. I always think about the concept of writing a resume, like where you have to write all the best things about yourself. And as somebody who grew up like in the Christian tradition, I distinctly remember the first time that I wrote a resume. It was in like a class in high school where we were learning how to do it. And I was like, I've never been asked to write all the good things out about me before. And it feels kind of wrong. Like I felt like I was sinning and that God was going to like smite me like right then and there because I was like, I'm really good at this and I'm really good at that. I realized I had not even thought about myself like in that light because I was so busy like deprecating myself and flagellating myself emotionally. Maybe that's what this group does. It's like you deprecate yourself or you flagellate yourself like behind the scenes and you tell yourself that you're not good enough, but then like you present like, oh, everything's like fine, and like together, and your guides, okay, so what do your guides want you to do? Learn about like this. Learn about the way that you kind of, learn about yourself and learn about like this state of things because it's very normal. This is like kind of a study of like psychology, and I don't know how you want to go about it. It's like the id, the ego, and the super ego, like the different parts of the mind, or like, just like your persona. Learn what your persona is like, and learn kind of how to do that. This is ultimately going to lead you to shadow work because shadow work is where you dip into this like when you want to, when you feel safe and comfortable, like in your own home. And this is like what journaling is, because it's kind of like in a contained environment where you kind of get to know her, And I'm picturing Kat at Weird is the New Black. You guys know that I really like her things. One of the readings that I constantly like go back to, she has this really, really good reading, and it's called like The Shadow Speaks, and where like she talks to your shadow. And some of you, I'm getting goosebumps again. Some of you might want to check that one out because it's so visceral. I love the way that she like describes everything. She describes it like in such detail. And there's this one, I think it's pile 1, and it's like, okay, your shadow. She's like, I'm picturing this little girl, and she's got her arms folded, and she's like in a huff. And like, that's kind of what I'm getting here for you. Like, there's something here that's like in a huff and like, just feels like you never listened to me. And it might be like your anger or something like that. And it's like, I want to keep you safe. I want to keep you protected. You're not meant to like outsource that. Like, you actually can keep yourself safe and you can keep yourself protected. I feel like that's like definitely true for me. I'm learning that like that part of me that everybody tried to shave down my fangs and like and everything, like that part of me actually keeps me like very safe, So they want you to like actually maybe literally learn with the Page of Swords. Maybe you've been thinking about taking a class, or there's like a book that you've been thinking about getting, or you might have a friend, or you might be listening to a podcast or something and somebody's going to mention a book. Okay, I'm literally here. Podcast really like stuck out to me. So I don't know if you've been like watching a podcast with like a certain expert or something and you're really drawn to that person's work, but I think they're trying to send somebody in that you resonate with, that you can look further into something. Okay. It's Kat. So Weird is the New Black, but it's WYRD is the New Black. And Kat is over there. But you don't have to like listen to that. It's called The Shadow Speaks reading, but like just even doing like shadow readings like for yourself, or maybe that's a good way for you to get introduced to your shadow too. Yeah, because there's a part of you that feels like an alien. Okay, but I'm telling you, you not accepting this part of yourself, I feel like it's ironic and it doesn't make sense to you and it seems like a bit of a paradox, but it's why you get betrayed, or it's why you betray others. One of the two, maybe even both, like at the same time. Like the part when you feel upset with yourself and you feel like, man, I really dropped the ball on that. Either because somebody came at you or because you acted out of your integrity in some way. It has to do with this like moon energy. It is the key to this like betrayal energy. And I feel like a lot of you, it's like you're trying so hard for this part of you to be like subdued. This very reminds me of like Christian speak of like the Garden of Eden, and like you're supposed to subdue the earth. I know that's like a quote that I've heard directly. Like mankind is meant to like subdue nature. It's not. So we all, like in the Christian tradition, a lot of us are trying to shove down all the parts of us that we just deem on a mass basis is unacceptable, instead of saying like, well, actually there's a time and a place for me to get a little uppity. And what would that time and place be? Like, what would it look like? And how would I express myself in a way where I still felt okay and dignified, and I wasn't hurting anybody else, but I was still communicating what I needed to communicate? What would that look like? Instead of like getting more nuanced with it. So I feel like you're just being invited into that, but it is the key, because I think some of you, oh my gosh, this is really good. so many major arcanas coming out. We have the World card. This is about integration. I'm telling you, there's like a weird paradox here. You don't think it's going to work, but it is. It's definitely going to work. I always say paradox, for me, I know I hit the sweet spot when I hit a paradox, because paradox is how God speaks, because God is wholeness. And so when you find that paradox point, is what I like to call it, where it's like, that doesn't seem like it should work. And it's like two opposites, the way they kind of perfectly combined, just like the yin yang, opposite like forces, and how they both kind of express, but in this kind of very give and take cyclical way. That's the voice of God, I tell you. And it always, always works. And I feel like you're going to find a paradox of like, actually, when I show my werewolf side, whatever that is, or when I'm honest about it to somebody, actually, that's when I get the response that I like. That's when I get the response that I want, or at least it's on the table. Actually, a part of me calms down when I like say that, or you're going to find some kind of paradox point, and it's ending a major karmic cycle. It's ending a major karmic cycle here. Like potentially between you and a person that you've betrayed here. Like that's like the key to it. Ace of Wands, passionate new beginning. Six of Pentacles. Yeah, because there's also something here that's very alluring. Okay, they're talking about like a devil energy that's like very alluring, and it kind of always gets you stuck in its trap, and it's related to this swamp energy. This is the swamp card that I was talking about. The Six of Cups. Which has to do with equal give and take. So it might be, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just feel like there's something here that needs to like be overcome because it's cannibalizing you. And it is this like devil energy. It is this devil energy, but it's the cannibal. Yeah. Okay. And it's justice for you to overcome this. And it's not a matter of winning. Okay, like that's also the thing. It's like there's nothing here that can be won. And okay, and it's kind of like, you know, when we talk about personally, I think that it's a fool's errand to shoot for happiness in your life, because happiness is a peak experience. So by very definition, by its very nature, it's part of a cycle, right? When you have a peak, then you're going to have a valley. Like that's just natural. We should know that. But when we have the wrong perception, we kind of set ourselves up for failure, and we misunderstand certain situations because it's like, why can't I maintain that peak of happiness at all times? Something must be wrong with me. When in reality, that's just the way that it goes. Nothing's wrong with you. But if you have that perception that something's wrong because you can't maintain it, you think something's wrong, and then you're trying to fix something that can't be kind of fixed, I think it's better to shoot for contentment. There's something here where it's like, don't shoot for perfection. It's like impossible. Don't shoot for being accepted all at 100% of the time. You're just not going to be. It's just impossible. Instead, what's the better thing to aim for? Being a whole, well-rounded person, being honest, being able to communicate yourself. And it sounds ironic. It sounds like that's not going to work because maybe you feel like there's a part of yourself that if you showed it, this particular person or like this particular group or whatever is not going to understand, because they're going to be like, wow, look at that crazy maniac, you know, like they can't control themselves. It's actually the exact opposite, because it actually says so much more about you, that you are like a full person, that you can actually be trusted, because you kind of know about this, that you are actually it's something here that's like ironic, where either this specific person that you've hurt in the past or like, you know, whatever, it's like they're going to get it. So this is how you end the karmic cycle. This masquerades as a problem that you're having with others. In reality, it's a problem you're having with yourself, where you're not accepting yourself. Because if you start to accept yourself, and you know that you're not malintended and you're not doing it just to like, you know, mess people up. You're just trying to find your place in the world. All of us are constantly trying to negotiate this place between like, well, I have these certain needs, but then you have these certain needs. And it's hard. And it doesn't always, it's not, you can have friction there of like, well, I have these certain needs and you have these certain needs. You can have friction there and like not be enemies with that person. Where it's like, yeah, I mean, we're having this tug of war, but it's not because either one of us are like malicious or malintended. So everything starts to kind of calm down. And I'm picturing like, you know, an animal with its fur that's like, and it's just kind of like when you start petting that fur down, you give it a bath, like everything is just kind of like, I feel so much more at ease now just with myself. So this is a self-love issue. It's also a self-forgiveness issue. You have to forgive yourself for being human and for not knowing the perfect thing to do at every moment in time. And part of the way that I think, part of the way that you're going to do that is by proving to yourself that you're learning and that you're growing and that you're changing. And that when you see something about yourself, that you deal with it in the best way that you can in the moment. And it's the same with this other person. You need to feel that way about yourself to feel okay. They need to know that about you to feel okay. It's the same thing. And I feel like you're going to do it with yourself first. And that's how you're going to learn it. And then you're going to be able to do it with this other person. And then that's what's going to close out this karmic cycle. And that's what's going to make everything feel good and like okay again. This is so powerful. And I feel like if you've been discouraged, please don't, because like you're right on this tipping point. You're right on this precipice of making some kind of major change. The other thing, this card is in the book, it's like specifically about trying on different masks to bring out your most authentic self. Okay, this is kind of like, to me, the concept behind like drag, or even the concept behind theater. Some of you might want to get involved in the theater because you can play out another character. Maybe you want to play a villain. Maybe you want to sign up for a community play and play a villain and just be a bitch and do it under somebody else's name, you know? Like, well, I'm Cruella DeVille in this play. So yeah, I'm gonna steal your daughter and then I'm gonna turn the king into a seaweed. And then I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna cause whatever havoc I want to. Like, play that. It's a way for you to channel that energy, to kind of get to know it and to feel it kind of course through you without taking on like the guilt or something. That might, or even reading. I'm hearing reading fiction books. Read fiction books with excellent villains. Like literally go on the Google and just be like, what books have excellent villains? Whatever kind of villain you like. Female villains, sadistic villains. There's this one book that I wanted to read that had like this excellent villain. It was like a carnival and it sounded horrendous. But because it was so horrendous, I was like, I have to read that. And I can't remember what it is, but if I remember, then maybe I'll try to like post it somewhere. Rachel Oates did a cover of it on her channel, and I was listening to her describe this book, and I was like, I really am so interested in that, because it had to do with like the mind, and like it was crazy. So the angry black woman trope, exactly. Maybe you want to like just dive into that, like, you know, I don't know, that one actually really bothers me too, because you're going to get angry, and then like it's just an excuse for somebody to like pin something on you that they want to make fit on you. Anyways, yeah, I went through a whole villain binge watch a couple months ago, and it was great. Exactly, like just partake in like creative expressions of villains, or do cosplay. Go to those places where you cosplay, and only, okay, if you do that, if you do one of those like cosplay things, only cosplay as villains for like an entire year. Oh, I'm gonna do that because I want to go to the Ren Fair and I want to dress up, and maybe I'll dress up as like a villain. Or maybe I'll make my own villain. Make your own villain. Maybe you want to write a short story and like write your own villain. Okay, now I'm like off. I'm going off here. But you woman, you, where have you been? Where have you been, lady? Did you get that job? I've been thinking about you too. Okay, they shape how I feel, controlled and limited. Yeah. Okay, 5 of Cups. This is also grieving. And I feel like what you need to grieve is this perfect person that you're supposed to be in order to receive love. And it's going to clear the air. I feel like that's the paradox. It's just like showing up and being like, hello, I'm imperfect and sometimes I'm a slob. My name is Jess. Nice to meet you. You know? Like it kind of creates space for you, you know? And it's going to clear the air and you're going to feel happy. That's what this is about. Also just having friends like that too. I just pictured you doing something awkward. Like if you get together with like your friends and you guys go out to eat or something and you say something awkward, if you're just like, can I just tell you guys a few of my imperfections? Like, I don't know. And you're just like, sometimes like I just buy a bag of Cheetos and I eat the whole thing like in under an hour. Or like, I don't know. Yeah. So this is all like about authenticity. And I do think that there, with this group, authenticity, self-love, self-forgiveness, really, and just giving yourself permission to fully inhabit the human experience that you came here to learn about is actually the key to some kind of other specific problem that you think you're having, like with other people, or it's not them. Like they don't want you to focus on them. Yes, like we live in a society that kind of teaches us to judge people. I don't want to get off too much on a tangent, but maybe this is important because I think about this a lot because we don't grow up in tribes, okay? Like, because if you think about growing up in a tribe, you would know, okay, first of all, there'd be like, 150 people there, manageable. Like you can kind of manage 150 people in your brain, especially, you know, over a long period, your entire life, yeah, that's totally doable. And everybody knows everybody else. So there's not this need to promote oneself. Like the resume example. In the Western society where we're moving all over like different locations, how many people do you truly know like from elementary school, like that you've kept in contact with? So people don't have this like running stream. And I guess there's like pluses to that and minuses, because if you had a hard time of it growing up, then like you can reinvent yourself, you can go somewhere else. But you don't have people who just kind of like know you. So it kind of creates this facade culture where you always have to be putting your best foot forward. You always have to be like resumeing yourself to everybody, because we have to like get love somewhere, love and connects, and it just kind of sets us up for failure. And that's not a personal problem is what I'm hearing. Like, yeah, you kind of have to figure out how to navigate it and like figure out your own solutions. That'll be your responsibility. But it's like, that's a systemic problem that's like outside of your control that, I don't know. And we're all trying to deal with it the best that we can. But that's that like kind of love problem of like, because in a tribe, you'd be like, yeah, that's so-and-so. Like, he's a little bit wacky in this way, but like, he's a good one. Like, he doesn't mean anything by it. Whereas like, you have to wonder if people who come off a certain way are like creeps or weirdos, because you don't want them to massively hurt you, or you have to pay attention to those things, because the consequences can be so huge in the opposite direction. So everything's just kind of set up to like not work, Yo, we are so back today. Yeah, putting ourselves first instead of the crowd. Exactly. Okay. She lived in town plot. Okay. And I definitely think fiction could be something like strong here for this group. So, anything else? Okay. This is funny. I don't get this. Okay, hold on. Let me just talk this out. 7 of Wands. So 7 of Wands is usually like that guy like kind of defending himself. So you have like the superior position, and in your own life, like that you're not like just being an asshole to be an asshole. Like that about yourself. You have to know that about yourself. Okay? Yes, sometimes you're going to rub people the wrong way. Sometimes what you want and what other people want are going to be at odds. That doesn't make you the asshole. You have to know that you're not the asshole. Okay? And like, so see how like the mummy is kind of like pushed back there? I feel like that's kind of you putting away your wand and being like, I am what I am, and I'm not gonna, sorry, I'm like struggling to breathe. Like you're just struggling to just like, I'm noticing his smile. He's like, yeah. And then we've got the 4 of Wands there, like, which is a happy celebration or reunion. Some of you might want to throw a party, maybe a mask party. Play around with the concepts of mask. Hereby, on this day, we should have a mask party. You guys, if we ever get together, we should do a masquerade ball. And we should play around with the concepts of masks. And we should all dress as villains. Okay, but you could do this with your friends, and you could do this every single year. Okay, and don't do it on Halloween either. Do it on a different day. On some random ass day. Create your own holiday with your friends. Okay, like that's all. That's all I have for that group. Like Friendsgiving. We need a Mean Girls book club. Am I the asshole? Chaos Coven edition. And it's just all of us being like, no, you're not the asshole. Okay. I'm going to go blow my nose. I'll be right back to do pile number 3. Okay, so we are back with pile number 3. Okay, pile number 3. Let's see. Messages. Okay, pile number 3. What messages do your guides have for you? So this is the animal card. And we have this Virgo energy like right on the bottom of the deck. So I don't know if you do have prominent Virgo in your chart, but I do feel like there's some kind of like perfectionist tendency that is coming through here, because Virgo tends to know, like, they're very detail oriented, right? They're very skillful and they know kind of like all the right things to do. I like to call Virgo the prince and the princess of the zodiac, because they tend to get a lot of Virgos can get like a lot of attention. They kind of can become like pillars of the community, especially because of their job or their position, or like nobody can do it like a Virgo. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of energy of like, oh, you really want a Virgo to do like this kind of thing or that kind of thing. But I think this is about you getting in touch with like your inner animal and just kind of like learning how to let loose and learning how to have fun. This is also kind of tapping into that shadow energy, but look how sad that animal looks. It almost looks like, you know, when you have to like scold your dog for, you know, like, we don't pee in the house kind of thing. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I love you. Do you still love me? Like, I feel like your inner animal is kind of like that, you know, like, I'm not trying to be bad. Yeah. And it's like really shy, and it's like, kind of like tucked away. Like, I'm not trying to be bad. And this might have to do with like some of the socializing kinds of things. Look, Gemini. Okay. So I'm wondering if we're kind of picking up on similar energy here, but your inner animal wants to speak with you. Like, I think there also could be somebody who is kind of more your animal. Like, I just heard I'm your animal. But is like more like in that animal energy, and they feel like they did a bad thing. This is a couple of different ways this energy could be coming through, and they feel like they made you feel like unworthy or unattractive or unvaluable or something here like that. Oh, I'm reaching for a message deck. Okay. Well, we're picking on kind of repeat messages. I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to try to see if like other energy wants to come through. Oh, you're the reason I keep going. I should have never let you go. I'm afraid to get close to people. You've changed me. Okay, so somebody's trying to show some appreciation here. This could be a younger person, or this could be just a person who's in that, I'm scared you're moving on, I want to be like you. Okay, so you have a lot of people that admire you. Okay, this is what your guides are wanting to let you know. You have a lot of people that admire you. And there could be a certain person here, or maybe multiple. I just feel like you feel like not good enough. You feel unattractive. You don't feel perfect enough. That's what it is, like with the Virgo here at the bottom of the deck. Like, I think women, I'm sure men get this too, like in their own way, but I know, like, for me, a lot of women, you know, it's like, you have to be perfect. Okay, and I'm hearing the song Perfect by Pink. Made a wrong turn once or twice. Dug my way out, blood and fire. Okay, so, you're perfect to me. So you could have been in bad situations where like you had to dig your way out, blood and fire. And I'm literally picturing someone like covered in mud and blood, and like your hair is like crazy, but like you climbed out of like something crazy. And because you had to do that, you think of yourself in that energy. When you're a survivor, you're like an animal. Some of you, it's like you have regrets, but actually I think you're afraid to look at certain situations because you're afraid of what that means about you. Because you were taught that you needed to be prim and perfect, when actually I think if you sat with yourself and if you really thought back to those situations and why you were the way that you were and why you did what you did, you would have less shame about it, because you would realize that you had no other choice but to do what you did in that situation if you weren't going to give up on yourself and if you were going to like kind of come out on top. But basically, or even just equal for some of you and be treated equally. But your guides want you to know that like you don't think highly enough of yourself. This is a group who like does not have an ego problem in the sense of like you think you're the baddie, you think you're like the best thing since sliced bread. You do not have that problem. You actually maybe should probably think like a lot higher of yourself, but some of you, there was like a curveball situation and it like haunts you. It's like something that you always think about, and but you were put in that situation like by somebody else. It doesn't actually reflect who you are. Or maybe there's a couple situations like that, but there's something here and it's like it's giving you the wrong impression here of yourself. Your guides want you to love you more, and they're trying to surround you with people and like And this may well be like children, or it literally could be like a pet or something. They're trying to surround you with this unconditional love because you just don't feel perfect enough. That's what this group is about. Pluto. Okay, wow. There's definitely somebody's energy, and we were getting this a bit in pile number 1. There's definitely somebody's energy that's trying to get here. They want a relationship here with you. This person watches you from a distance. They're really, in some way, they're like very taken by what they've seen, or they're like in awe of it, or they're like, I don't know. Far from perfect. Yeah, I think. Okay, but there's a okay, that's it. It's like there's a discrepancy between how yourself and how other people feel you. Other people think that you are. Other people think that you're perfect. Like, maybe other people are like, oh my gosh, that person is like so perfect. But then you think of yourself as being like, I'm sorry for breathing. I'm sorry for having encroached in your space. I really shouldn't have done that, you know? Yeah. Okay. Something. Okay, you're really intuitive too. Like, you're really, really psychic. You're very intuitive. You shouldn't be afraid of that either. Some of you have psychic gifts that you're afraid of, like, tapping into. This is crazy because one of the Patreon readings that we have this week is exploring your psychic gifts. Some of you, like, you do have, like, a lot of psychic gifts, but you're scared of exploring it because it's almost like you don't want to know what people are thinking about you. You don't want to be overly sensitive to that because you already feel like emotionally you're sensitive enough already. But they want to get that wall down so that they can connect you with your psychic gifts. Okay, so your guides are struggling to get through to you, even though you are like very psychic, but it's a self-esteem thing that has been put in you, is what I'm getting, like by society or by people who are trying to control you. Okay, people who are trying to control you were trying to make you feel not good enough, and they held you up to some kind of like unrealistic standard of perfection. Your guides want you to start looking at that and start piecing that apart. Start noticing that the standards are not the same for you as they are for other people. Start noticing that the problems that people have with you, start noticing who is having the problem with you. I guarantee you that person is damn near nowhere near perfect, okay? Like somebody who is like, oh yeah, you really hurt my feelings because you didn't live up to this standard of expectations. They have no right. They have no rhyme or reason to put that on you. You do not. This is a group that does not get held to the same standards that other people get held to. And it's because you allow it. It's because you kind of agree with them on some level, but it's not really you. It's like what was put there. You agree also that you have to be perfect in order to get love. This is a group that it's like, there's a lot of control and domination, but it might have been like it was really hidden. It was very disguised. I just heard the word sadistic, but yeah, it's almost, I'm almost getting like, okay, this isn't gonna be for everybody, but like I'm almost getting a parental situation where it's like your parent was actually mean to you and like very cruel to you, but you wouldn't pick up on it because you just thought that it was parenting, but really they enjoyed making you feel bad. They enjoyed getting you to like think bad of yourself, but it was really underhand and it was very like twisted, and it was really like, when you really look at these people who are doing this to you, it's like they have a long way to go before they're like anywhere even in your like league, but they're the ones that want to point fingers at you because you breathed at the wrong moment. So it's not the same standards, and your guides are wanting to point this out because again, they're struggling to get through to you in order to even bring you the comfort that you need because you're still blocked off psychically. I think that you had an experience when you were young that shut off something psychic for you. You were like, you picked up on oh my God. I feel like you picked up on something twisted and dark. Even if nothing happened to you, in someone's brain, the thoughts that they were having about you or someone else scared you. Because it was sexual or it was domineering and you were like 5. Or like, yeah. And you shut it off because it scared you. And you were like, I don't want to go traipsing around there. And so they really want to get that guard down. And it all starts with unpacking this perfectionism. It's a way that you actually keep yourself safe psychically and energetically is by preoccupying yourself with how not perfect you are on an earthly realm. This is kind of making me mad. Because you internalized it. And there's something here that was put there by somebody else. For some of you, this is some kind of like ABUSE that you experienced as a child, and that is somebody putting their shame onto you and then making you feel bad or responsible for it. But I think for a lot of you, this was just happening energetically, or you picked up on something and then you shut it down. And then, but they can't even get comfort through to you. They can't even get like the water that you need. Something's not flowing through you the way that it should. And so ironically, they're not able to keep you as safe as they want to because they can't like operate through your gifts the way that they were wanting to. Okay. There's some unfinished business. Okay. Fated meeting, meant to be destiny, predetermined encounter. Magnetic attraction, alluring, lust, irresistible, flirting, snake, deception, shady, temptation, enemy. So for some of you, you just could have had experiences here where you felt like something was very strong and very powerful and that was a fated meeting. And then there was like some kind of snake energy and that scared you because there's something here where something didn't play out the way that it was supposed to. And it shut down your psychic gifts because you were like, ugh, like I thought that was one thing. And then I'm just watching you, it's like smacked upside the face. Okay, signs and synchronicities, coincidence, signal, hint, messages from the universe. The universe has messages for you. Anxiety. This is about your anxiety, unpacking your anxiety. That's actually a blockage to your spirituality here. Stress, depression, panic attacks, restless, third party, interference. Something made you afraid. Something here made you afraid and it like affected the way that your internal system like actually works. And for some of you, if there's somebody here that like you did this too, Spirit needs you to know that this is why we don't, kind of going back to pile number 1. It's not funny. It's not okay to just like sweep it under the rug. It wasn't just a stupid little whoopsie. It entirely changed something about the way, especially if there's a strong soul connection here. And it felt like it was okay for this person. And then boom, it wasn't because there was third party interference, sexual strategy, something. It changed the way this person fundamentally worked. It did not keep them safe for years. Like something here because they shut a part of themselves down. And again, with the Gemini, this could have happened when you were a child or like it shut somebody off from like relationships and trust. There's something here, your trust got affected and it was no small potatoes. Also, like you shouldn't have people around you that are like the way that I'm describing. That just are like, whoopsie, that was a little oopsie that I did on a Tuesday. And you're like, I'm still carrying it in my heart 10 years later that like I can't trust and be okay. Somebody here does like maybe is noticing that. Okay. Okay. They want you to make like little progress here at a time. So, okay, what other messages do your guides have for you? From 5 on. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, what is this? Okay, because it says a marriage will take place either romantic or business. Nikki, thank you so much for the super chat. So many sinks and goosies. Okay, so there's a very specific, I keep trying to block it out because I'm kind of halfway wondering if this isn't connected to pile number 1, but there's somebody here that's like, very sorry. Look, ring, a marriage will take place either romantic or business, and then look, dogs, getting together with friends. Angel, spiritual guidance, protection from harm. So there could have been a situation like this that shut down your psychic ability because you were picking up on things from a person and then it made you like not trust. Or I don't know. Look, spiritual guidance, protection from harm, but this is tied to your psychic gifts. So for some of you, you were protected from harm in a situation that went like this. Inkpot, problems to be resolved. Or you should, okay. Or there's this problem in childhood that shut this off and then it affected this situation because something went wrong here. And you couldn't access the spiritual guidance that would have guided you away from some kind of harm. Now there's problems to be resolved. Stepping into a new experience. Great and good fortune. So stepping into this new experience brings great and good fortune. And I feel like this new experience is psychic gifts. This is a very psychic group. But I also feel like it's tied to your animal instinct. Something that masquerades as, okay. And you need to be able to determine what's animal instinct and what is actual intuition. And that's something where it's like, you got to go in there with a fine tooth comb and you really can't, like, just takes time and it takes practice. And sometimes you're going to fuck up, which is also kind of going back to the things in pile number 2. It's like having the ability to communicate yourself when you do mess up. You cannot have a long-term relationship unless you know how to repair one. Nobody goes, 40 years married and never messes up. You don't have to mess up big and like absolutely crush another person, but like you're going to mess up. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have to be able to repair that relationship. So some of you are afraid of your psychic gifts, but you have to realize that I really feel like this group shut this down in childhood because you picked up on something weird. I don't even necessarily think that somebody necessarily had to do anything to you, although for some of you, somebody could have done something to you, but you could have just picked up on it. Yeah. Someone is extremely stubborn and unwilling to change. This is an old pattern, and it's tied in with anxiety. Fly, a period of ill health or depression. Okay, so if you're going through a period of ill health or depression, it's because of this. They're showing me like a dam, like a river that's like dammed up. You're not like necessarily meant to be depressed right now. It's not exactly like serving anything for you. It's just, it's as a result of this stubbornness to like actually let the water flow. And the water is like emotion, but it's spiritual gifts. I feel like you're psychic here and you're just fighting that. November. Okay, boot. Increase your efforts if you want to achieve your goals in November. That's a very specific message. Okay, and it could have to do with your family. Something in November. Did you hear the way I said that? November. So you may need to say no. And this could have to do with Thanksgiving. You know, everybody like has to be around their family and weird stuff happens. Look. Oh, compliments from an admirer. You might have to tell somebody no. Spiritual development, enlightenment, awareness, and understanding is coming through to you now. And it's coming through a dissatisfaction with life. This dissatisfaction with life is just pointing you towards that anxiety, which is pointing you toward, it's like you are associating your emotional sensitivity and like your psychicness with anxiety. It like gives you anxiety, but it's only because you are around like a weirdo or like weird people. But there's other people you could be around. And some of you could be drawn into this community because we're not weirdos, like in a bad way, most of us, you know? So it's like, look at what we're doing. See how we're tapping into like actually very beautiful things a lot of times? I mean, sometimes not. But like, you don't have to be around, because that sensitivity can keep you safe from the weirdos. But I feel like when you were young, you know, kids don't make decisions, do they? You're kind of at the whim of your parents, and it depends on the relationship you have. It's coming back to communication here too. Like you can try to communicate with your mom or your dad that you don't like being around that person, but then what are you going to do? Tell your mom or your dad that you're psychic and that like, but you know, there's like a phrase that adults say, like kids always know. Kids always know. Like, you know, if your kid's running and hanging on you, okay, some of you need to pay attention to this because you have a very psychic child. If your kid is like running and like holding on to you like around a certain person and it's not in their personality to do that, they might not be able to articulate that they feel weird around like somebody, but they definitely do. Also, this is reminding me of like why, you know how we've all been talking about this recently, like you shouldn't make your kids hug people that they don't want to hug because it's teaching bad boundaries, you know, and it's teaching them not to pay attention to that inner voice. That says, you know, I prefer not to hug that person. So there's something here about that. And you weren't, maybe you were just made to give people hugs and stuff, even though, yeah, and it felt bad and you didn't have any control over the decisions that were being made or where you went or didn't go. So instead you just shut down that psychic ability because it was so painful and it was screaming at you because it was the only thing you had control over. But the irony is that like as an adult, when you're using that, you can use that to navigate around situations. And I'll just like really briefly, this was one of the hardest things that I found about being married because I didn't even realize how much I just sort of naturally navigated like using my intuition. I just like naturally did it. I never really had to like think it through consciously, let alone try to explain it to other people. But I found myself having to kind of say like, oh, well, I don't really want to go in there, you know, or okay, we can go, but like I'm just planning on like dipping in for 10 minutes and then like leaving. And like my husband would be like, why? And I remember this, and I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this because it's like a monumental moment in my life. But I remember it was like early on, and I was like, I'm sorry. I know that I'm like really sensitive, and like I just felt weird because like again, it's just who I am before, but now I have to like be explaining all of this, and I felt kind of like exposed. And he at first he was like, you're a little paranoid, but like it's okay. We can go in there for 10 minutes and like leave or whatever. But then this was years later, okay? Literal years later. And my boo came up to me and he was like, Jessica, I just have to tell you this. Like, you are literally never wrong about people. Literally never. And so if your intuition is telling us that we're going to go in there for 10 minutes, we're going to go in there for 10 minutes. Because at the beginning, we were kind of overriding that. And then we did have experiences where it was like, and it would always kind of come back to like, apparently I was picking up on something, you know, and it was so validating for me. And I feel like you can have that like experience too, but it was like really validating for him to be like of his own accord, come up to me and be like, if your intuition says we're not going in there, we're not going in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it just was so validating. And I just feel like, Yes, like don't turn it off. Like learn to kind of listen to that voice. It's going to keep you safe. Maybe for some of you that is that like in a huff shadow voice that we were looking at in the other reading that was just trying to keep you safe. But it's going to get the stomach feelings. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's going to give you like the stomach feelings, and then it's bad. This is another thing that we do in our brains when we experience a bad emotion and we can't sit with it and we can't figure out what it's trying to tell us. Instead, it's like you feel a bad emotion and you just, whatever you're looking at, you'll associate it with that. And you'll just be like, that's bad. When in reality, so it's like you just kind of naturally like run away from it. But as an adult, if you can just sit and breathe with it and just, the feeling itself isn't bad. The place itself isn't bad, but there's something specific that you're picking up on. You have to be able to trace back like where that's coming from. Be very conscious with this. And I feel like it's paradoxical. Practical mystic. I've been crying out of nowhere. Oh, I'm afraid of my psychic gifts. Yes. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm really getting that, but this is a paradox, okay? Because it feels like that's where the unsafety is coming from, is from your sensitivity. But sensitivity is strength in this, and it is going to keep you away from the bad people, the bad deals. It's going to let you know when somebody has nefarious purposes. You might have had to bump up against that and kind of wondered like, well, how? And if you're getting on the internet and you're trying to learn like how to negotiate deals and how to like, that's not the way. You have a built-in system, but it's going to feel bad when the sensitivity is tingling. But it's keeping you safe for it to feel bad, because it's going to feel bad. You're going to be like, ooh, I really feel bad. You're going to say no, you're going to leave, and you're going to feel fine. See how it's keeping you safe? Like, I hope that makes sense. But I think you might just be in a habit of shutting it down because when you were a child, you picked up on some weird shit that somebody was thinking. Okay, and this is another thing. I'm not going to say like what this situation was, and to my knowledge, because I can bury things like a MFA. Nothing ever happened. But I used to get this sensation in the back of my throat, and I used to say it tastes like dizzy. Like my throat chakra, I think this is what was happening, is like my throat chakra was just, I think it was spinning in reverse motion or something. That's like what it felt like. And I knew that it was attached to weird thoughts that were coming from this one specific person. Like whenever I would get around that one specific person and I just like never felt safe, and I was always like, this is so confusing. Like it tastes like dizzy. And whenever that would happen, I would go lock myself in the bathroom. I wouldn't have to go to the bathroom or anything. I would just sit there. And I would like breathe, splash some water on my face, and I would just sit there confused and just like, why is this happening? And I would sometimes like even like drink from like the sink because I was trying to get the sensation to go away. And I think you might have had like some kind of something like that. They had to attack the mother and break the bond. Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to feel uncomfortable, but then you're going to start noticing that it is actually your strength. You're actually much more of a badass because, and you can get away from the people that you need. As an adult, you can do that, because I just think as a child, you didn't have any other options and you didn't know what you were experiencing. Also, another thing that this group might want to watch is this TED Talk. It's called something or psychosis, psychic or psychosis or something like that. It's amazing. And it's this guy, I think he was an orthodontist, like by trade, but he would travel. He was a photographer. That was like his passion, his love. He actually like has like certain photography books that are out, and they're actually very beautiful. But he would go into these tribal cultures and he would take these snapshots of these like of people. And so he did that for like his whole life. And he learned quite a bit. I'm getting goosebumps again. He learned quite a bit about like these tribal cultures, and he noticed that there was like some similarities. Even though he's going all over the world, there was a lot of just, similarities. But one thing he noticed is that there's these people with these psychic gifts. They were the healers, and they always did something else. They just kind of blended into the background, but they had these kind of like psychic gifts. And whenever they came on, there was always this like big crisis, even to the point of like wanting to die or like thinking that you were going to die or something. But in America, or like in the West, whenever people have those experiences, we medicate it. We tell them that they're weird. We try to suppress it, either using medication or just, whatever. And then people think that they're weird. People go their whole life, or they self-medicate. That Neptunian influence, a lot of times it goes towards spirituality and it leads towards liberation and freedom. Or if you don't know what to do with it, people drink, or they like try to numb out because they kind of can't cope with it, right? And he said in tribal cultures, they actually have a mentor. And sometimes that mentor will go so far as like literally being with you for like an entire year. You can like move into their house. So like when you wake up in a cold sweat, they know what to do, or they're telling you how to like navigate it, or they're just reminding you. I think I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Can you guys see me? Babe? What? I think I'm frozen. Oh, okay. But yeah, like, so you might want to watch it. And I'm pretty sure it's called like psychic or psychosis. It's just like frozen right there for me. Maybe it's just on mine though. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that like we're still going. We see you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So you might want to watch that. And there could even be like specific messages in there, like what certain people went through. He even talks about like the Dalai Lama, like his personal seer and stuff. And also one thing that you learn too is like in these different tribal cultures, there's a lot of different ways to like induce those psychic, like your own thing. Kind of reminds me of like I played volleyball as a kid and I also played softball. So like, for instance, like before you serve the ball, everybody has like a routine that you kind of go through. Like, you know, you bounce the ball once, you bounce the ball twice, you spin it, and then like you hit it. And that like routine kind of leads up to it. So there can be a way, like work on that, like how you just, it doesn't have to be long or anything, but just how like you can say like, okay, I'm open to receiving messages now because your guides are trying to keep you safe here. There's something to do with family that's, I think, coming. Okay, a problem to be resolved. Look, romance is in the air. Spiritual development, enlightenment, awareness, and understanding. Yeah, so maybe this has to do with like just, I don't know, some leading you to like your family. Yeah, spiritual guidance. It's like leading you to that place. Okay, so for some of you, it's like, oh, I get it. So for some of you, it's like in order for you to like meet your family, like the person that is your family, or like even if this isn't a romantic relationship, if it's like finding your place in the world, they really need this to be online for you. To help guide you like in the moment is what your guides are really saying. There might be like just a period of ill health or depression. Okay, and the universe isn't against you. The universe wants you to be happy. You're feeling dissatisfaction because of the influence of a two-faced friend that they need you to either become aware of, or like you weren't aware of it in the moment. But that's again because these psychic gifts were like kind of shut off or something, or maybe that's what's coming. But you can suss this, okay? You can suss this basically is what they're trying to say, and you can sidestep it and then avoid like whatever pitfall. Oh yeah, just Maya's Light said, now that you said that, I encourage everyone to watch Frozen, this Frozen 2. I agree. Yeah. So, and this is all meant to teach you. And I do think that there's something here that like once you learn how to do this, you might be called upon to teach others whatever this is. Okay. Yeah. I'll just see if there's any... There's a real confusion about this psychic gift and like whether it's a help or a hinder. It's a help if you can use it correctly. Because this is just another thing where you picked up on that weird energy or that weird person and you associated it as it was coming from your psychic gift. But your psychic gift can pick up on beautiful energy. It can pick up on negative energy. But I think you demonized the psychic gift when in reality you just picked up on a weirdo. And the psychic gift is very helpful for alerting you to that. Kind, speak kindly to yourself. Speak kindly to yourself. Speak kindly to yourself. Focus. Guilty versus faithful. Yeah, there's definitely something here coming through from the past. It's focusing on guilty or faithful is a hindrance. Look, shy effect. And then I just heard Shy Ronnie. It's an SNL skit with Rihanna and that other guy, the SNL guy that did I'm on a Boat. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, because Shy Ronnie is all about like whenever Rihanna's in the room, he's like rapping so quiet because he's embarrassed. He's like, yeah, no, no. And she's like, what? Like on the mic, she's like, speak up. And then as soon as she leaves the room, he just like really gets into it. Like, so you might feel like kind of shy around a person here too. Okay. Shy Ronnie. Okay. So that's what I have for those 3 piles. This is kind of like, I don't know if we should do a general message because I feel like all of these were general messages. You just watched Shy Ronnie. That's so funny. Okay. All right, let's do a general message. I don't even know. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. And then we do have a new candle that is available today. It's the first candle of our scented line, and I will show you guys that like after we're done with the general message. I'm saying that so that I don't forget. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. All the piles resonated. All right, let's see, Spirit. What general messages do you have for the people? Distractions. Temptation, always busy, kept you waiting, self-love. Okay, what distractions do you have from self-love? And it says, loving you, taking back control, and finally being happy. Okay. And that, okay, there's somebody, this has kind of come through in all the piles. There's like really somebody here. It's not a bad, it doesn't feel like a bad energy. It feels like actually a very respectful energy. I've got the desire card that I don't want to show because I don't know if YouTube's going to have a problem. Desire for reconciliation, but I feel like this is like desire for reconciliation with self, but I also feel like there is something here like desire reconciliation with somebody else because we have egg on their face. Ashamed, backfired, got caught. And half-truth plus half-truth equals a lie. So somehow this has to do with, self-love. Okay, and then we have toxic love, drama, addictions, love-hate relationships, and fighting. Trust issues, one-sided, detached, and secretive. So they're saying, again, like whatever went wrong in this, like whichever side of this you're on, this is a self-love issue. What distractions? Oh, okay, so maybe it's like that toxic, drama-filled, addictive cycle is a distraction somehow from like just you learning how to love yourself and be okay with yourself. I kind of am really getting like throughout all of these piles and this entire reading, it's just been about self-love and like the distractions that we've had from that and self-forgiveness and self-understanding and understanding in the brain, understanding in the mind why it is that we do what we do. Because I think when you peel, there's many answers to that question, right? It's kind of like peeling back the layers of an onion. And I just heard Shrek, like ogres are like onions. So maybe some of you feel like an ogre sometimes. But yeah, and I just heard that Taylor Swift song, the Antihero. So where she talks about like being an ogre, like lurching towards the town or something. But like how are you distracting from your own self-love? So all of this is, there's some kind of journey that you're being brought through that maybe I'm just heard Wreckage and then Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus, but like there's some kind of journey here and it's actually a journey towards more self-love. And like towards actually loving yourself. Seeing and to love yourself fully means you have to see yourself truthfully, fully, and clearly for exactly who and what it is that you are. You have to forgive like your mistakes. You have to like love all of you, like even the weird parts, even like the thing, like not that you're excusing it, but just saying like, I forgive your humanness, you know? And just like, how can you, and like, I'm hearing do a cord cutting. And for those of you on Patreon, I shared a cord cutting that I found. I try to do cord cuttings every once in a while because I just don't like to have cords on me. I found like a really, really good one and I highly recommend that one if you are wanting to do that. But I feel like a lot of these cords, it somehow has to do with like your own self-love here. And that is actually the key to solving whatever problems you might have in the external world. Because there's certain cycles that you participate in whatever way you do, consciously or unconsciously, just because you're trying to distract from something here like that. And then look, 1111, twin flame, runner, chaser, divine timing. Determined, persistent, still holding on, flowers, gifts, spiritual attack. Karma, divine intervention, facing their demons. I feel like, yes, there was a spiritual attack here. I hate this card. It's so scary. There was a spiritual attack here, but even that energy serves its purpose here. There's lessons, right? It was a divine intervention here so that everybody here could face their demons about self-love. And this is reminding me of The Good Place. Is that on Netflix, babe?
What's that?
The Good Place?
I don't know. It could be, but...
Oh, I thought that was a Netflix show.
It's not a Netflix show, no. It was just, something that was syndicated to
Okay, well, it's with Kristen Bell. And okay, the first season I think was a little bit slow. It wasn't bad, but then it got really, really good, especially in terms of like its philosophical concepts. And one of the things that they did a really good job of showing is how full, like, they had kind of like the demon side and like the angelic side, you know, and how we couldn't learn half the things that we learned here without like the bad energy, without like the demonic influence, and how like at the end of all of it, I don't want to like give too many spoilers away, but it's like they end up like working together as like teachers. And I feel like that's what's going on here too. It's like this spiritual attack. Yes, it's undesirable, especially from the perspective of the ego, because you wanted what you wanted this outcome or that outcome, and always like those outcomes are possible, right? But there is some kind of karma being worked out here. There is a divine intervention, but the gift of it is like to be able to face your own demons. Yeah, it could have caused some kind of a controversy here, but it is ultimately leading to abundance. There's a soul contract here. Soulmates, partnership, spiritual union. There's some kind of contract. You and this person know that you have things like to kind of work on. You knew that there was a possibility that things were going to work out. You knew that there was a possibility of things that were not going to work out, is what I'm getting. But you also knew the purpose of this, because if it worked out, it would have worked out by way of you guys figuring out like your way to self-love. That's like that path. But even if it's not, it's still teaching you that same thing. You created a situation where it can still teach you like the same things. Okay. Any other? The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. Okay. There's some kind of clarity on this, some kind of healing. Bright days are ahead, I just heard. Okay, but bright days are ahead, but it's like we have this fragmented energy. So I think that you're kind of, maybe you're at a point where either you or somebody else that you're dealing with, it's like you're understanding this bit, you're understanding that bit, you're understanding that bit, you're understanding that bit. And eventually, like, it's going to take like this hermit mode to be able to kind of like put all of these things together. When that finally happens, I feel like the karma is just going to like, it's all going to like do. And like the light's going to turn on, and you actually have some kind of like spiritual inheritance that's coming in, but it's by way of like shedding this very painful skin. There's an ending here. And okay, hold on. Like there is an ending here, but I feel like the ending is like with an old version of self for you and for another person. If you're worried about like ending something like forever, I think somebody's really hurt here. Okay. Like really, really hurt here. And like, it's causing some kind of like grief and judgment. But I do think there's going to be a new beginning. I don't know how, but I think that the permanent ending is just like the people that you were that hurt each other. And like that's the permanent ending, so that when you actually come back together, you have something real, you have something different. You have two entirely like different people. And you have teamwork makes the dream work, and you can see like this bright, beautiful future that you can walk through. Yeah, like I really do think that, but the ego is going to try to control this, but you have to focus on like the self-love. So that's what I have for you guys. You've been in hermit mode. Good. Those nasty energies turn stuff around because Jess gets stronger in her readings when she sprays them away. I do. For those of you who've been watching me for a while, I think you can probably see that there is a difference in me. And that's why I know like this is definitely a part of my own journey. Because like for those of you who know, like who have been following me for a while, like I have had such like doing this has like just put me in such like weird positions where I just have to like face certain things about myself. Yeah. And yeah, just learning how to communicate. But anyway, okay. Really quick, I just want to show you guys our new candles. I'm so excited. So we're doing like scented candles, and I wanted to do scented candles too, A, because I just like them. But B, because when we're talking about like manifesting, you know how people say like your sense of smell really is like, it's a strong, powerful sense. Like it just triggers something in your brain, right? Like nostalgic memories, like it's very visceral. And, you know, Alex and I have moved around a lot. And so, you know, we've been here for, you know, a few months at a time there. We move a lot. And I am a person, you know, I'm kind of witchy, and I always have been even before I even knew it. But I really like the changing of the seasons, you know, and really bringing that into my home, like decorating for the holidays and stuff. But we haven't always been able to just like move all of that stuff with us. But I remember saying to him, I was like, even if I can just get like a seasonal candle, you know, spend like, you know, $30, get a really nice candle and have it be like something clean, something that I can trust, that's like bringing the energy of like that season into my space. I'm good with that. But I at least want to be able to do that, even if I can't like, you know, go crazy with like decorations or anything like that. So I've always just kind of like done this. And so I know that like scent can be the one thing that just like kind of changes things. So we have like our line of the everyday magic candles, which, you know, it's helping you connect with your own intention, right? That's like you are the magic and like your intention setting. It's just to help like with that intention setting. But we also wanted to come out with like these scented candles too, just because it's nice. It's nice to have a homey, nice, clean scented candle that you can kind of trust, but also it can help like manifest that and paired up with and you can mix and match, right? Like with the everyday magic candles and with the scent that you want. And we're going to be revealing like more and more of our scented candles, like as like we progress and as we like are concocting them and everything. It's been like a really fun experience. So without further ado, I want to show you this first, and then I'll show you the label that comes on them, because when you sell candles, you have to sell them with a label on them just for like, so everybody knows what they're getting. So we have labels on them that come off, because I'm personally a fan of candles that don't have the labels on them. You can probably tell. So we have our ways of making sure that we're selling the candles in a way that's like complying with the legal things, but that you don't have to have the sticker like on your candle. You can just like have it be a beautiful, elegant member of like your little home. So I've lit this one just for like the pictures and stuff. I love this vessel. This is an apothecary jar. It's so feminine. I was really looking for something that like screamed divine feminine, something classic, something elegant, that you could really put in a lot of different spaces. This to me, I don't know, it just looks like a lady would have this. And it's just like very creamy. Leah, where have you been? And it's honestly so beautiful. So this is how like our scented candle line is going to look. It's so beautiful. It's so classic. It's so classy. And it has this like beautiful gold, kind of brushed gold lid. So you can keep the scent like contained in it when you're not using it. And then badao. And honestly, the scents that are coming off of this, I don't feel like it's overpowering, but you don't have to light this like all the time. I literally keep this one by my bed, and I love just like, it kind of wafts over. It's so nice to like wake up to this. So anyways, yeah, like they used to put cream in it. It kind of reminds me of my grandma. I have a Sagittarius grandma, and she's like the classiest lady that I've ever met. And she like pressed her slacks, and she had like her creams and her lotions. She was always like putting lotion on her hands, and like, you know, and this just reminds me of her. I don't know. But so this candle that we have here, this one is called Hedge Witch. This is our first one. It's an instant classic, if you ask me. It is perfectly like an encapsulation of May. It is, how would I describe this? Okay, so I even wrote this like on the side. It's if you could capture sitting on a stone bench at 8 a.m. in a lush secret garden under the morning's first sunbeam, it would smell like this. This elegant candle brings a beautifully well-rounded scent. Top notes of rose and fresh mint float in on an intoxicating blend of fresh herbal air. This candle says fresh, it says elegant, it says empress on a Sunday afternoon. It's a visceral reminder to enjoy the simple sweetness of life. And I really do feel like that sums this up. Thank you so much, Brody, for the super chat. By the way, you didn't have to leave on Patreon. I hope that you watch that later. You're so sweet and you're so considerate, but I just you're always welcome. You're always welcome. Okay, so we're talking about like leaving. She was being like so considerate in one of the readings, and she was like, I'm just gonna go, but like don't worry about it. Yeah, so this candle, it really does smell like a secret garden. Like if you were just sitting in your like living room and you could open up your window and there was just like this lush garden outside. It smells like, you can smell the rose and you can smell the mint. But what really gets me about this scent is you can kind of smell the fresh air, and it's not like perfumey rose. It's not like perfumey mint. This smells like that herby, rich, bodied, well-rounded rose mint scent. And it's the same, like it's 100% soy wax, and yeah, it's additive free, sustainably sourced soy wax, and we use the cleanest scents that you can get on the market, and that's, I know, important for a lot of people who are very witchy. It complies with the Prop 65 stuff, which is a California thing, but it's like a whole host of ingredients that have potentially been known to be carcinogenic. This candle is free of all of those things. And if you are a person who likes candles, you know that that's just not always the case with the candles that you get. You have to pay attention to the wax. You have to pay attention to the wick. So Catherine, thank you so much for the super chat. So, yeah, this one is Hedge Witch. It is on sale now. Leah said, take my money. This one is, honestly, I really feel like this is going to be an instant classic. Truly. It is like Empress energy. It's witchy, it's herbal. And honestly, like this is the perfect centerpiece to like have on your table, or if you're having like some kind of gathering, like it just screams spring in a way that is like, it's all the things that you like kind of love about spring, you know? So, and it looks like this because when you get it, like you'll just notice that this kind of just like naturally like comes off, and we just have it like taped on there so you can just easily remove that, and then it's just gonna look beautiful and classic. Oh, Catherine, thank you. Only way to chat is pay, trolls. All right, so that's what I have. Hedge Witch. Alex, do you want to drop is it super florally? I would say that it is, but it's like, it's not like, it's well-rounded in that floral kind of scent, and it's fresh as well. Like it's floral, but it's also fresh, and it's well-rounded. And it does, I actually think like this a little bit goes a long way. I really think this candle is going to last you for like a long time, because when I light this one compared to when I light like the ritual candles, I really don't have to leave it like lit for a super long period of time. Also, the way that this burns, I actually like this because it'll kind of burn down, and it won't burn like the sides right away. Because if you know like candles, like the wax is kind of supposed to melt down with it, and this wax will like all melt down with it, but it kind of like leaves this white like on around the outside as it's burning down. I really like that because I like the look of this, like having the wax, like, you know, it looks like it's been burned, you know, but I actually kind of like that. So yeah, and like even just when you leave this open like on your table, you can still smell it in a way that's like pleasant. So yeah, so that's what I have for you guys. If you're using this to like help with your manifesting, this is anything that you want to grow or like bring a certain freshness or a certain elegance to. Again, it's like channeling Empress energy. So that's what I have. Catherine, thank you again.
Wait, what did she say?
They got control of your chat. I got pictures of it. Who did? I'm not usually into floral scents, but lately, well, it definitely is a floral scent. So if you're not into it, then maybe this would be a bit much, but yeah. But we do have other scents that are coming. So, but yeah, I don't know. I really, I can barely smell, but I can still smell this through this. And I could smell when we formulated these scents, but it's, yeah. Catherine, didn't think I'd beat you, huh? I don't know. There's somebody that she feels like has like been in the chat. No. Okay, so there is the link that Alex shared if you guys are interested in these. Also, you get free shipping. Brody, thank you so much.
Not to Australia yet, but
not to Australia yet.
we can try to get that going.
Okay, Alex said he's gonna try to get that going. Thanks for sharing about the candles. Yeah. Okay, so like you get free shipping on, I think it's like $35 or over, because we use Etsy. So you can get 2 candles and then you get the free shipping. So you can get like one of these and like a ritual candle, and it's just a little way to get a little bit more bang for your buck, or to get it to go further. So, all right, that's what I have. Thank you guys for being my people. Thank you guys for showing up here. We have a Patreon video dropping tomorrow. And like I said, if you guys are interested in the cord cutting ritual, I did share one that I liked over there if you're into that sort of thing. So, all right, bye.